Heart rate training is really important. It allows you to see exactly what you're doing, but even if you don't have a heart rate monitor on you, there's a way for you to get an idea about what heart rate zone you might be in. So this video should explain that for you. We have 5 heart rate zones, zones 1 through 5. Each heart rate zone has a different purpose. Let's go into what those are. Your body more or less has 2 energy systems that it can use. It can use your aerobic energy system, where it combines oxygen and stored fat for energy, or it can use your anaerobic energy system, where it just uses stored carbohydrate in the form of blood sugar for energy. When your body burns fat and oxygen as fuel, your VO2 max increases. And what your VO2 max is your body's ability to use oxygen and body fat as fuel. The higher your VO2 max is, the longer a lifespan you will probably have. It directly correlates to a decrease of all-cause mortality. So getting that VO2 max number up is extremely important. And the way to start doing that is to work your zones 1 and zones 2 cardio. Zone 1 and zone 2 build your aerobic base. They allow you to build a foundation of cardiovascular conditioning and teach your body to use body fat and oxygen as fuel. It's really important to work every single heart rate zone, but you want to do that in proportion, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. You're going to want to work zones 1 and 2 80% of the time and split those about equally. For zone 3, you're going to want to work that 10 to 12% of the time. Zone 4, you're going to want to take that remaining 8 to 10% that's left over, and you're going to want to split that in half. So you're doing 4 to 5% of the time in zone 4, and then the remaining percentage in zone 5. So following that split, with zones 1 and 2 being 80% and zones 3, 4, and 5 being the other 20%, is an incredibly effective way to raise your VO2 max, and it's going to in turn increase your longevity and your quality of life and how you feel and your energy level. Zone 1 is your easiest heart rate zone. It is just above a resting, so it can be anything from just getting up and walking, to something that's a light run or jog. For some people that are in very good cardiovascular conditioning, it can even be what looks a little bit more intense to somebody else. You're going to think to yourself, how hard am I working on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the hardest and 1 being easy? For zone 1, you're going to be at a 3 to 5 out of 10. In zone 1, you should always be able to hold a conversation easily. You shouldn't be out of breath at all. So that's one way to know that you're in cardiovascular zone 1. In zone 1, you're going to feel maybe a little bit of sweat. You're going to feel your heat rising just a little bit, but you are by no means working hard. And like I said, it varies person to person what they're doing to be in that zone 1. Some people, it's just walking. Sometimes just walking can be a higher heart rate zone. It just all depends on your individual conditioning. So being in tune with how your body is feeling and what your body is doing is very important to zone training. Zone 2 should also be relatively easy. You should be able to hold a conversation with anybody without being out of breath. You are working hard. You're probably starting to sweat. You're probably starting to feel your body get warm. For zone 2, you're going to be at about a 6 out of 10. Zone 3 cardio, even though it's below your anaerobic threshold, you're burning a little bit less body fat here. But what you're doing is you're increasing your body's tolerance to exercise, and that's going to push your anaerobic threshold up a little bit more. In zone 3, you're starting to get out of breath. You're working hard. For zone 3, you're going to be at about a 7 out of 10. It should feel like work. You're going to be sweating. Your sentences become a little bit shorter, so if you were talking with somebody, you might pant a little bit, you might be out of breath. This is normal. Zone 3 builds your endurance and your tolerance to exercise. It's a really important part of pushing up your anaerobic threshold from the bottom. So basically what that means is you're working below your anaerobic threshold and you're developing your aerobic endurance. And as you do that over time, your anaerobic threshold, which is the point where your body stops using any fat or oxygen for energy, and starts using only stored sugar for energy, that point will rise over time. So zone 3 is very good for that. Zone 4 is just above your anaerobic threshold. And at this point, your body switches over from using primarily body fat and oxygen to stored sugar. And this isn't a bad thing. Zone 4 is a performance zone. So when you really need to get going, you need to run, you need to do something really fast, Zone 4 is a great place to be. So this is going to be things like sprints, high intensity interval training, something that's really, really intense that you can't do for a long time. In zone 4, you're going to feel really out of breath. You can maybe say 1 or 2 words, but you definitely can't hold a conversation with anybody because you're working too hard and your body can't talk and work at the same time. In zone 5, you're at your maximal output. You can only do this for just a few seconds, not very long at all. With zone 4, you can hold that intensity for up to 2 minutes probably. With zone 5, you can hold it for about 30 seconds. It is your absolute max. You cannot talk. You can't do anything other than go. It's super intense and you are burning a high amount of sugar. The great thing about zones 4 and zones 5, working above your anaerobic threshold, is there's this thing called excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, or EPOC for short. And what that is for the next 24 hours, your body is combining fat and oxygen at an accelerated rate. So your body burns more body fat and oxygen in the 24 hours after a high intensity interval workout. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video and thought it was useful, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so that you'll stay in the loop every time that I drop a new video.